And here's the video on some quadratic applications that we've done in class. We have consecutive integers, and then we'll do a projectile motion. So we're looking for two consecutive integers whose product is 306. So we take integer 1, which is x, multiplied by integer 2, which is x plus 1, because consecutive would be 1 past the current number, and set equal to 306. Distribute. Now to be able to do any of these problems, we've got to set it equal to 0. So subtract 306. For consecutive integer problems, you want a 0 factor because it will come out as an answer. So we have to figure out the two numbers that multiply to negative 306 that adds to 1. So multiplies to this, adds to this. So we get positive 18 and negative 17. And you just kind of have to play around with it for a while until you figure it out. Then set both factors equal to 0 to be able to solve. So you have one set of answers, negative 18, and if you add one to that, negative 17. Then for the next one, add 17. And your next set of answers would be 17 and 18, because if you add 1 to 17, you get 17 and 18. Both of these answers work, because whether it's negative times a negative or positive times a positive, you'll end up with this positive product. So I'm going to have a guest tell us what you do when you have consecutive even or odd integers.
X.
2. Oh, no, times. We're all learning here. X plus 2. And then you set that equal to whatever the product would be. And you distribute the same way. So the way that we deal with that is we start with the integer, and then the next even would be 2 away from it, the next odd would be 2 away from it. Luckily, we're wearing the same color, so I'm sure you couldn't tell who it was. Next problem, we're talking about a baseball that's hit from 3 feet off the ground at an exit velocity of 132 feet per second. So Kyle's going to come in and write an equation for us. H of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 132t plus 3. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
So we have this equation, and now when we want to find the highest point, we got to use the vertex formula. So B is 132, A is negative 16, C is 3, so we have negative 132 over 2 times negative 16, which will give us 4.125. So that's how long in seconds it will take to reach its highest point. To figure out how high it will get, we plug it back into the formula. So we'll do negative 16 times 4.125 squared plus 132 times 4.125 plus 3. And if you plug it in directly as you see it here, it will work out 275.25 feet. So that's the highest it'll get, and it'll take this many seconds. Now the next two problems you do the same way. When we're asking when it'll reach 200 feet first, you set the problem equal to 200. You got to set it equal to 0. And from there, you just put this into the quadratic formula and you solve. I'll show you the quadratic formula for this one I don't need to do it twice. For this one, we're asking when it'll first reach 200 feet. So we get two answers. Whichever one is the smaller answer, if they're both positive, would be when it first reaches 200 feet. So then we got to figure out when the ball hits the ground. So you're going to set equal to 0 because the ground is height 0. And we can just go straight to the quadratic formula. Always put the numbers in here in parentheses so you don't mess up the multiplication. After we've plugged in all the numbers, the best way to do it is simplify everything under the radical, which is our discriminant. So if you simplify all this, it'll help you just get your answer, done quicker. So you do 132 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 3, and under my radical, I get 17,616. It's all over negative 32. I don't need you to find this as a perfect square, not perfect square, since we're trying to find a number. Just take the square root of it, and it should be a decimal in this case. Just write it to 2 decimal places, and you put it in there. So now we have the radical simplified to a number. We have a plus or minus. We got to do the two different answers. Negative 132 plus 132.73 over negative 32, and negative 132 minus 132.73 over negative 32. So for the first one, we'll get negative 0.02. So right away we see a negative answer for time. We know that can't be our answer. No negative answers work for time. So this must be the answer that we're looking for. We do negative 132 minus 132.73 divided by negative 32. We get 8.27 seconds until the ball hits the ground. Thank you very much to my special hosts, and I hope you watch this video and I hope it helps.